Show with Richard Masso. Our hosts and their guests are here to talk about comics, movies, random topics, and everything in between. Now, here's your hosts, Ryan and Richard.
The Oppenheimer Projects.
What is going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, not Monday. It's Wednesday, and it's March 9th, and that means that March 4th has come and gone. I'm here with Richard. I'm here with Jordan. The three of us saw the Batman, and we're here to talk about that. So just a heads up, if you haven't seen it or you're planning on seeing it, you just haven't gotten around to it, spoiler alerts. We're out here. We're talking about it. There's a lot of things to talk about. Richard and Jordan and I have just been sharing article after article about fan theories and things that we thought and things that are coming to light. So here we are to talk about it. How you two? How you doing?
Good. Thank you for asking.
Doing pretty good.
No COVID?
No COVID. Nope.
Some other sickness floating around, but not COVID.
Yeah.
It could be my fault for those of you that are tuning in. I was coughing at the movie theater, but I swear it wasn't COVID.
And it wasn't distracting at all that when you were coughing at the movie theater.
It wasn't concerning either, though, right?
It was. I don't want to say it wasn't concerning, but it wasn't distracting.
It wasn't overtly audible at all.
But yes, right. But in one of those, what's that saying? Please help me out. Like nature's healing itself, or you could tell. Like we got to go to a 5:00 movie, which works out with when one of the people coming is a dad of twins and a 5-year-old, and you gotta go when you can go. We got ourselves a junior high class trip, as Ryan referred to it earlier in the week. I would say tons, but no, there was double-digit kids in the theater who the last 2 years of watching movies at home have spoiled these children. They were expressing themselves, and it was a lot of like when the characters would kiss, or like Batman would take it, Bruce Wayne would take his shirt off, like, oh no, like it was just it was funny, distracting, but comical. Like I don't think you guys can correct me. I don't think anyone was offensive, but it was interesting to be in that kind of it wasn't full, but like those kids were loud. So
it's funny. You just made me think about something. Yeah, I mean, I know that. I think all three of us have been to the movies over the last 2 years, have enjoyed a film or two. But yeah, there's probably a number of kids whose parents were just like, yeah, we're not ready to just let you run out in crowds just yet. And now tides are starting to change. And I didn't even think about that. They're used to watching Encanto on Disney Plus on opening day, and you can just be out there screaming every thought you have. And then I had to be like, oh my goodness, I hope this isn't Alexis when she goes to the movies. If it is, we're going to have a major talk about movie etiquette and behavior. But yeah. And, just so we might circle back to the kids again, but I just thought it was hilarious that everybody was, tolerating it. And there was a lot of loud scenes. So it kind of evened out. But at that one point, at that pinnacle moment at the end where you just need to shut the hell up, somebody in the movie theater finally just said to these kids, "Shut up!" And Richard pointed out, like, everybody, I guess, was thinking it because people were like, "Woo, yeah!" like clapping for the guy, like. But yeah, we need to talk about kids when movies like that or when moments like that are taking place. That's where you kind of just like take it all in and shut the hell up for a second.
But again, Ryan, those are young kids. They don't think about movies the way we do. And again. When I was their age, but being pumped up for 2 years, finally getting to go to movies and not have to wear a mask, and everyone could like feel good being a movie together and not have to worry about getting COVID unless you're sitting next to Ryan. But of course they're gonna do what young kids do. They're gonna make noises when Catwoman was on the screen, or make noises when Robert Pattinson's taking his shirt off. It's like they're doing kid stuff. But again, I respected that guy at the end moment where like everything was getting very, very tight in the movie. Everyone's paying attention. He's just like, "Shut up," and everyone dead silence. And then you hear a couple claps. That was fantastic. That was just as good as the ending of the movie.
Yeah, it was just as good as the ending of the movie. The one kid though I heard and maybe this was part of it. One kid was like, "This is our third Batman in our lifetime. Like, this is frustrating. Like, we went through." Yeah, he was like, "I'm sick of it." He goes, "We went through Ben Affleck and Christian Bale." So that might have been some of it. I might have made that part up. But it is crazy to think that those kids, this is their third Batman, so, and their fifth Spider-Man. So these kids are.
Well, I actually was going to say that when I posted our first promo, I was going to say, or actually not even the promo, my little short review that I posted after the film, and I just had to get some thoughts out just real quick. I was going to say something to the extent that for the last 10 years, every 3 years, there's been a Batman film. So before those of you that don't know Batman get comfortable and you're like, well, I didn't see this. I don't need to see this one. I'll just wait till like Jake Gyllenhaal plays Bruce Wayne or something. I don't anticipate that happening. So I'll use that as Richard would say, segue. So real quick, let's go over just the summarize about what we thought, and then we'll get into some of the finer points and things that the people are talking about. For me, my quick rundown of the Batman was I loved it, and it's not just because I know people have heard me on this podcast, and if we've talked about my passion for Batman, I do have my issues with the Christopher Nolan trilogy, so I'm not just completely disowning the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I actually was referencing it a little bit the last few days, and there's a lot of good things to appreciate. But as a big time Batman fan, like Batman's my superhero. My basement is covered in Batman. My kids are covered in Batman. This is the film I've been waiting for. The way I've been describing it is it felt to me like a Batman comic book movie. I felt the entire time like I was in Gotham City, like you were part of it. To like paint a bigger picture, it didn't feel like the movie and the story itself was isolated. There were so many things that we'll talk about as we go on, little hints there that have created, fan theories and things like that. So in short, I'm trying to say that it just felt like there was Batman everywhere and that it was just such a bigger world and more things to come. So I personally am very pleased with the movie, very pleased with Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell. Richard said on Friday night, probably an Oscar nod coming his way. I just loved it. I thought it was a great film.
Jordan?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Ryan, a bunch. I mean, I feel like it took so much inspiration from different comic books. I mean, taking little bits from the Batman Year One and The Long Halloween as great kind of influence of this movie, but kind of making its own, but also like taking, some movie references. Like I very much thought, it was inspired by the movie Seven. That, I mean, this showing off the city in a certain way, and also that kind of like doom and gloom kind of reign throughout the whole movie, kind of like symbolizes what you remember in Seven. I thought it was really great, and all the characters were really well rounded, but like it made it like a gritty crime drama where you didn't know what was going to happen next. You're just waiting for the next the other shoe to drop and be able to, figure out what's the next clue, who's the next target. I mean, I was generally worried when it came out with the ratings and it was going to be PG-13, and I was like, oh, here we go. They're trying to go for a certain market for like the younger audience, and this gritty crime drama that we've been expecting and waiting for so long for it's going to underwhelm everybody. But I was pleasantly surprised, and the way it was done, and Paul Dano, the serial killer Riddler, was great. And now it just teases up for the next movie or next project, which I already hear they're doubling down on and making HBO Max shows out of it. So, Ryan, you got to get on that.
I got to get on. I got to get caught up. That's for sure. Richard, I can't wait. Yeah, I couldn't wait for you, Jordan, but
sure. No, but both of you have said a lot of what I was thinking. Yeah, that it was visually one of the best Batman movies I saw. The Christopher Nolan movies are really good, but they still had an element of cheesiness that, again, I didn't really dislike it, but this one I thought was cheese free. Again, I know that some angry people could probably get on, or I can go on the internet and take 2 seconds to find people criticizing it, but I enjoyed it. I really liked Pattinson as Batman. Later on we'll discuss the individual performances, but yeah, like it was comic books, like Jordan said, it was year one, year two, like they, with just a lot of Catwoman story, the different kind of mix, a couple even like little twinges to some of the mythos without, it wasn't dumb. Like the changes they made aren't like, oh, that's dumb. Catwoman can't be this person's, like it worked. Again, just I'm really curious to see where they go from here. I think a Penguin series on HBO Max, like Jordan was just saying, has potential to be Peacemaker-like in success. I don't think it'll be Peacemaker. I don't think it'll be like Peacemaker because that's one of a kind. And then lastly, just steal all Jordan's great ideas. I'm glad it was PG-13. Because again, like what would the R rating have done? Like if there was cursing, I don't want to say it would have taken me out of it, but it would have been unnecessary, and then the idea of like, which was that on the table? I'm trying to remember a Ryan post now from like years ago. Was Batman supposed to say the F word and that was a huge controversy? Or did he do it in the? Am I just mixing up my stories?
I feel like it was a cartoon movie.
And that's what it is.
People kept like commenting about it and posting "Whoa, Batman doesn't say you."
Doesn't say the F, right? No, yeah, right. He doesn't. Right, and he also doesn't do things with Catwoman. He says it. He says it at the end. He says it in Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut. That's where he does it.
Yeah.
And that was the controversy. Yeah, he did it in the Zack Snyder cut. I totally forgot. But again, I like this Batman because again, like, there wasn't over gore. There wasn't somebody on Twitter today was like, "Is the Batman the first comic book horror movie?" And I'm like, it wasn't a comic book horror movie. Like, it was a solid detective show. It was a solid follow the clues. But I will say, I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead with this. It's year 2, right? Because they said he's been doing this for 2 years. Yeah. Like, he's not great yet.
No,
he's good.
Yeah.
Like, again, super spoilers. If the cop doesn't say, "Oh, that's a carpet," that's a carpet tool. Like, Batman's just looking around at it going like, he's like, "What?" And then that's that movie magic of like, that's a carpet tool. Here's a carpet. I better rip open the carpet where all the plans are hidden.
And the cop has some sort of connection to somebody who worked on carpets their whole life, and
like his
all
uncle
the pieces come together.
Right. But again, that's just one of those like, and again, I understand like that's what life is too. But it was just that kind of funny thing of like, and again, I don't know if I'm commenting on this. Yeah, I'll wait. We'll talk about the ending when we get to that. So yeah, I really liked it. I got to think of a grade higher than a B+, but not quite an A. So it was, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so I'm not going to bash the Christopher Nolan films. However, I feel that for because I was thinking about this, how do I like compare and promote it and, still kind of get my point across. I have had this, I don't want to say argument, discussion with people because as we've all seen in the comment section, and I remember texting Richard randomly like last week, like, Richard, the comment sections, because Richard and I always have comment section jokes, and it's here. Nolanverse, people are just, that's what it's, for those of you that don't know, that's what the Christopher Nolan trilogy is referred to, the Nolanverse. There's some people that are really dug in, and as we know, being the internet surfers that we are or have been all these years, there's people who probably genuinely just didn't like it and have legitimate reasons for not liking it. But then there's definitely a group of people where they're just dug in. Like, it's Christopher Nolan all the way. That's their Batman. And I think Richard's made that point a few times on our podcast that, whether it's Iron Man or Captain America or whatever, Christian Bale, for a lot of people, that will be their Batman. That will be their hero. That will be the one they relate to. That will be for the first Batman movie they saw, the first Batman story they followed. So I think where I'm going with my long rant here is that the difference I saw, one of my biggest complaints with the Christopher Nolan Batman is I when thinking about it, I feel like Bruce Wayne was always trying to not be Batman in that trilogy, with the exception of Batman Begins. He's all in. In The Dark Knight, he was ready to leave for Rachel. He's a little mopey, has no problem making himself the villain when it comes to Harvey Dent. In The Dark Knight Rises, it was, we didn't get to see him as Batman until the second act. Even then, we don't have a Bruce Wayne Batman ending that's it for Bruce Wayne as Batman. It's over. And we know that's not really the pace in the comic book series. You know, he goes on for years. He grows into being a better Batman, a better detective, a better martial artist, a stronger person. He takes in all these kids, and which people have questions and jokes about him sending kids out to fight their battles. But I felt like this was, and you know, just to say it again, that this was really a Batman film, and I'm very pleased with Pattinson and this direction. I can't wait to see what him and Matt Reeves do. And I think that's really hard to explain to people who their only knowledge of Batman is the Christopher Nolan films. One of my friends actually made the comment, if I wanted to watch CSI New York, I would have stayed at home and watched it. Well, Batman's the world's greatest detective, right? Yeah. There was a lot of detective mode stuff going on in this film. His fighting style, it was just so much like the video games. It was fast paced. He was strong. They didn't hold back with the bat claw. Like, he's putting that through people. He's pulling them. You know, and I just am completely in love with the story. And I'm trying to figure out how we talk about this without, you know, going on too many crazy tangents. Our minds are still working, right? I mean, Richard and I, here comes probably our first spoiler, and you too, Jordan. Immediately, we were thinking to ourselves, well, Paul Dano is the Riddler on IMDb. He is not listed as Edward Nygma. In the movie, they show two different IDs. None of them were Edward Nygma. Are we going a different route with this, right? If you're a comic book fan, you saw hints dropped in certain aspects of the film. Hush, right? And for Batman fans, we know what that little reference may be, right? We can't really confirm that it is, but our minds are still going. When Batman needed that little push and he injected himself with that green liquid, was it Venom, right? So, and I think that's one of the things I'm loving about it is, you know, like I said in the beginning of the show, I feel like this was the first Batman film where they may take it a different direction, but it's still very, very rooted in the comic books, and still so many questions. Like, and one of the things I was thinking, if it was Venom that Batman injected into himself, Bane's running around there somewhere, right? And that's the point that I think I'm having trouble saying it. I feel like it's not just a movie, that there's a whole new universe that we get to explore, and that really, really has me excited.
Yeah, I mean, I like that point, and I'm gonna bring up Peacemaker because I think they're doing a really good job of like connecting to different characters in DC, like the more ridiculous characters. But it's very much like that. Like, they're establishing a whole world, and those other characters still can be, you know, bouncing around, and just because they're not on screen doesn't mean they're not part of what's going on. And I mean, the whole thing with the Riddler, it's very interesting. I honestly think they're taking a different direction. I know Richard and I talked about this obviously after the movie, but like, I feel like they're separating Hush and the Riddler, which I think is a good thing, because there's so many different, you know, strings to pull from that movie. I mean, you know, you could say, Hush or Tommy Elliott was the reporter's son who was killed in the movie. So it's like, that could be setting up, you know, maybe an ultimate villain, maybe in the third film, possibly, if they decide to go in that direction, or depending on how the HBO Max shows goes, they might introduce that character then. Or, I mean, I really think keeping the Riddler as Edward Nashton, I think is a good idea, because it keeps that character and keep the character interesting, but also you kind of figure out how are they changing him from the classic comic book lore. But now, obviously, to your point, Ryan, about the whole Venom, possibly Venom thing or adrenaline, I don't know. That's a good question, because I mean, they've said, I mean, there's been multiple things in the comic books where he was kind of shooting up with Venom because he needed to be stronger, faster, and all these other things. And he ultimately became addicted to it and had to be able to fight that off. It'd be interesting to see him go in that direction. When Matt Reeves, I think, really inspired by the comic book, so it would be fun to see a Batman that was addicted to something or had to kind of go through this, you know, this trials and tribulations that we don't normally get to see Batman in. I mean, normally you see him, you know, overcoming, you know, different injuries or overcoming insurmountable odds, but never something as personal as an addiction. So that'd be interesting to see that direction. And then I would love to see what they do with villains wise, but I mean, Matt Reeves is all over the place. He's talked about doing, something with Mr. Freeze. I mean, I would love to see that.
Love that.
Is that direction he wants to go into? I mean, will we see Hush? Will we see the Joker? Your guess is as good as mine, because the way they ended the movie, it's really interesting what the possibilities could be.
And they're weaving that all together very well, right? I feel like we have been overwhelmed when it comes to the DC EU, as we refer to it, the movie line, for those of you that don't know. It was just like we're trying to drop so many things into Batman versus Superman because we want to go all these directions. But at the same time, Matt Reeves, and I said this when I posted, obviously a lot of people involved in the film just took a deep dive into all these comic books. And here we are talking about all these little things where Matt Reeves was like, I'm not saying anything about all of these things, but those people who know Batman are going to be thinking about it, right? And here we all are. And those that don't or may not know about it, you'll figure it out as we continue to go with these spin-off shows and these movies and what's to come. And I just don't feel overwhelmed. Like, I'm excited, but I'm not overwhelmed. And I think people really underestimate how much of an art in itself that can be. So again, I'll just say it all day long, just my hat is off to Matt Reeves and how he's really sewing everything together. Richard.
I'm just, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm trying not to be the person who's just like, yeah, good point, and then just echo what you say. It's one of those things that, I'm being annoying right now with I wish we knew there was 2 more movies coming, but at the same time, I don't think DC is just not consistent like that. They're not looking, I mean, I hope that they're sitting down looking at Peacemaker's success and acknowledging that while Peacemaker's success is a huge part of it, is the comedy and the acting and the storytelling, that if I'm sorry, they should be looking at, Disney Plus, and that putting out a show every week, is the way to go. I hear mixed reviews from my comic book friends about Titans on HBO Max. Some think it's great, some think it's crap. I constantly talk about the Harley Quinn video show on here. There are some decent things, and again, they have access to all those movies they've made that are decent. Sorry, all the animated movies. Again, I think that's what DC movies part. They really just need to have this big summit where they just lock in and say, hey, for better or for worse, we're doing things for the next 5 years. I saw a flash of a headline that I don't know if it was real or not, that Aquaman and Flash have been pushed back to 2023. Okay. So
2023?
Yeah. So
Batman jacked you up that much, huh?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know if that's, again, so to summarize, I think that if you give Matt Reeves control of this universe and say, don't worry about what Aquaman does, don't worry about if another Wonder Woman comes out, we have beyond established now that there are multiverses, out here, and but at the same time, my comic book partner David, he said, I could almost see the Batman as being Ben Affleck from 20 years ago. This is before, that this is him starting out, and again, I think they established enough that it was set in this time period. They didn't try to make it like the Tim Burton movies, and a lot of Batman often sometimes will feel like Gotham did that too, which kicked my butt. Gotham, they made it sometimes they'd have a cell phone and sometimes they'd have pay phones, and they try to make the time ambiguous. And I think Batman likes to do that because it likes to I never say the word noir right. It likes to play with that noir all the time of, so that being said, how important is it to people that all these storylines intersect, or can you just have standalone stories now?
Yeah.
So
I think one thing that's important to note, and it's a little bit of a story, and you two may know it, or you probably do know it. For those of you that don't, we're going to take a trip down memory lane and kind of explain how we got here. So post Justice League. Ben Affleck, there was going to be a solo Batman film. It was a done deal. Warner Brothers said, we're doing a solo Batman film. And I know that people out there really like to hate on Ben Affleck, but he's super talented as a writer, producer, director. He was going to direct a Batman movie. And from the beginning, even when those discussions started, the story was said that it was going to be more of a detective type film, that it was going to be focused on Batman, that they were going to let it stand alone. And as you remember, time just went on and on and on, and a bunch of craziness was going on at Warner Brothers. And Ben Affleck is a human being, and he has his own kids and things to tend to. For whatever reason, Ben Affleck was like, "I'm out. Like, I'm done with Batman." Ultimately, he would come back and give us the Justice League, the Snyder Cut. He was out of the directing the film, and everybody kind of thought that was dead for a second. I remember it was a quick setting. Suddenly, there's an article that comes out. Matt Reeves steps in to direct the Batman. Well, we don't really have a Batman now, but we have somebody who's here to direct it. And at this point, he had made The Planet of the Apes. He had made Cloverfield. His resume is strong, right? Everybody's excited. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. He's going to give us something really great. But who's going to play the Batman? Those negotiations fell through very quickly as well. Very quickly, it popped up. Matt Reeves is no longer involved in the Batman. And I'm very happy that part of the story took place, because I think we all can, put our imaginations to work and, put the pieces together. He probably told WB, I'm not doing what you want me to do. It's not working. You guys, if you want me to be part of this project, I have to do this my way. We're going to do this story. We're going to do this Batman, and this is the story that we're going to tell. And I guess apparently or obviously he has enough weight in the game to be able to make those kinds of decisions, because WB, Warner Brothers, just doing what they want to do for the longest time, they gave in to Matt Reeves' request. Let's not say demands, request. And then from there, it was, we're not going to be part of the Justice League and that whole story. We're going to go back in time now. It's still going to be a director. It's still going to be a detective story. And then it came out that Robert Pattinson was going to be the Batman. And, Batman fans just over the years, nobody wanted it to be Ben Affleck. Now people love Ben Affleck. I'm sure that there was probably some concern with Christian Bale. It's just part of being a Batman fan, is you're kind of just unsure what you're going to get. But, at this point, I was kind of like hardened, and I was like, I didn't think Ben Affleck was going to be a bad Batman. So let's see what Pattinson can do. But long story short, that is the long tail of how we got to this Batman story. And, like we keep saying, if it's a standalone universe, I'm perfectly fine with that. I personally think that the two comic book heroes with the best and most interesting villains are Spider-Man and Batman. And as we all know, you can just go so many directions just in Gotham City and Bloodhaven. So if they just leave it alone and it's Batman, Gotham City, Bloodhaven, the characters we know for the comic books maybe going in a different direction, I'm still all in. I don't need to see anybody come into this universe.
Well, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that actually stays like that, because I know Matt Reeves has said in multiple articles that he doesn't want a Superman or any other character in this. But again, WB has a way of shooting themselves in the foot. They've done it so many other times where they go for these lofty goals and expectations, but it's just terribly done, or not hitting the expectations that other fans expect. And I think Matt Reeves and I think James Gunn are the two people actually trying to do something different with DC. I know the whole thing, James Gunn was kind of just like, it was a fluke, and he kind of got let go from Marvel. So he's like, I'm going to make my version of Suicide Squad of what it should be. Again, this is kind of counterpoint to Matt Reeves, where he took a point, was like, I'm going to make Suicide Squad the way it should be. These are the characters I want to put in it. You can either take it or leave it. And it was like a resounding hit, because it took chances. It took these characters to try to do something different with them. And again, the comedy, the cast, the writing was really done really well. It was done so well that it's like there's multiple spin-offs happening for other characters. So it really says something for a new train of thought, or at least a new vision for DC. And I'm hoping they just continue with it, because the definition of insanity is you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you know something's not working, or the fans have been, destroying the show for years, why keep doing it the same way? Try something different. Take different fresh perspectives. And you have so much, so many influences in comic book wise. You can make shows and movies based off all those things. It doesn't have to be one cohesive cinematic universe and you're putting everything together like Marvel. You don't have to do that. You can make standalone things that are done really well. You can make unique projects that do intersect, but they might be different characters and that need to be fleshed out as well, or characters that need to be explored. It's just one of those things. I'm just hoping DC doesn't ruin this opportunity with the Batman has given them. Because again, with using HBO Max is a great opportunity to be able to, give people content while you're filming the next movie or you're building the next big blockbuster. But again, just take it in due time. Like everything you're building a whole universe here, and take your time and be able to develop it properly instead of just like, okay, we're just going to put all these characters in. Oh, this actor's going to play so and so, and it just becomes like a mess. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for.
I got the sense with Reeves and Gunn that, and I'm not as familiar with Reeves' work. But with Gunn and like. I don't know if they're super, super comic book nerds, but they try to respect the source material. And you saw Christopher Nolan, I don't know if he's ever read a comic book, and I'm not insulting him, I'm not fighting with him. And whatever Zack Snyder has tried to do over the years, which again, I'm sorry. And again, I'm a big fan of not insulting people. Like Zack Snyder tries to put on massive eye-catching, beautiful productions. Christopher Nolan tries to tell these intricate weaving stories. Like they are movie makers. They are successful movie makers. But again, I love how we always point out that we repeat things on this podcast. Which I'm curious if the other podcasters, real podcasts, I don't mean to say real, but podcasters who work daily, like do they point out when they repeat things? That being said, it is interesting to me that how easy it is to lose your train of thought. So that's it is. So when I interrupt you again, I was talking about Christopher Nolan, James Gunn. Oh, yeah. Source material. So if you had gone back in time to when Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out, there's a guaranteed conversation of David and I sitting at a comic book show going, well, so much for that boom, so much for the Marvel boom. They really who is doing this, and then fast forward to the weekend the movie came out, we're sitting in Boston, and this is, whatever. I don't know. I was gonna say I hate how this is gonna sound. We put the Guardian Galaxy's books up on the wall. $5 each, sold out like that. $10 each. By the end of the show, they were up there for $25. Like we just like all weekend they just we could not keep them in stock. And again, a year earlier. When we got bored, sometimes I would take our really cheap, crappy books and let's see who can rip them quickest. Or let's see, Guardians of the Galaxy, I guarantee I ripped up Guardians of the Galaxy books, threw them in the trash. Who cares? And again, Marvel Studios said, James Gunn, take this, have fun with it. And that's the idea, just to steal, a long-winded way to kind of just agree with Jordan, letting people do that, and letting them go and have fun. And then, and listen, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it does work, great. But you don't have to jam it. I have no interest and will not go see Morbius, unless people tell me how amazing it is. But again, I still haven't seen Venom 2, so.
You're not missing out on much.
Yeah, right. So, and I didn't think I was. But there are people, when we do our big comic book show in a month in Philly, there are huge Venom fans there. There will be Morbius fans there. Again, Jared Leto's fans follow him no matter what he does. So that's great. But and again, I think that's part of, what Jordan was saying there was just make movies. And if it works out, great. The comic book people, if you go to a comic book show, they love DC's animated work. They love those. And those are all just standalone movies. They don't connect. They tell a comic book story, So, but again, I think they're a little more nervous to do that with movies that cost $100 million to make. But
if anything, we just drew it. It's fine.
Right. But again,
we'll throw Jensen Ackles in there and they'll get their attention.
Right. Speaking of Jensen, I forgot to watch that. Oh, I don't even think Shannon knows that exists. They did like an animated boys.
I just saw that popped up.
I heard about that.
I
Yeah,
saw an article about it.
Yeah, because I think Jensen Ackles is going to be in the new season of Boys.
yeah, he's playing Soldier Boy, not
Soldier
Boy.
Boy. which breaking news. I think Oppenheimer Project shared this. Like Homelander got himself into some trouble. So
in typical Homelander fashion, might I add.
Right, he's become the symbol of the ugly American, like, and the actor actually had to go and act like
He actually had to go to a bar, get drunk, probably piss off some guy that was minding his own business, and get arrested for it. And I actually thought that when I was just like, dude, like I don't know if you're what do they call it, method acting, where you're off screen and you're being Homelander.
I will say to you that he it's kind of that kind of thing, like when Pee Wee Herman got caught years ago masturbating. It was like Pee Wee wouldn't do that, or like whenever like the dad from Seventh Heaven who got caught being real, a horrible pervert. But Homelander, the actor of Homelander, being an asshole, like, yep, no, it tracks. All right, all right, that's fine.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, sure. It's your
turning this into the comic book podcast. No, it's ours. It's ours. In my opinion, I must admit that I have not watched The Boys in its entirety. Sorry, my mic's shaking. However,
and you probably shouldn't watch it until the kids are like in Florida for a week with
yeah.
Well, I have dabbled in YouTube videos, and Homelander is like maybe the most terrifying character. To me, he is. I'm just going to say, to me, he's the most terrifying character. I never know which direction that guy is going to go. Just his persona, his body language, the way he grits his teeth. I was like, is he going to murder everyone in this room, in this scene? Or is he just going to like let it slide? Like, I can't think of his name now after I just posted it, but he does a great job at playing that role. I'm terrified of Homelander. Terrified of Homelander.
Well, I forget the actress name. She played Stormfront in season 2. I was
just gonna say she's worse. Yeah,
amazing. Absolutely amazing, because it just the way like you like think she's like just this positive positive superhero, and then you're like, oh, there's Nazis, and then there's she's torturing people, and you're like, okay, this took a crazy direction, and you're like. Because like it makes you feel attached to these people, and then these terrible things come out about them. And you're like, oh my god, yeah. I question stuff about myself watching this show.
And that's the thing from the clips that I've seen, and I don't judge, and I know that humans have a way of being attracted to murder specials and things like this. I'm like, friends of mine, they're telling me to watch The Boys. Friends of Monica's, other moms are telling her to watch The Boys. And I'm just like, out of all the comic book material people could be watching with their spouse or on their own, you're attracted to this craziness. Now, again, like I just said, people, we're attracted to weird things, murder mysteries. We dive right in, Criminal Minds, the Netflix specials, whatever the case may be. But yeah, The Boys seems to get the attention of everybody with their wild and crazy antics.
Well, because I think it all of us watch different things with superheroes and all the comic book franchises, whatever. But like this subverts it completely. It's like every single comic book movie you've ever seen. It's like someone trying to aspire to do certain things, but like you're watching superheroes at their absolute worst, and like what they like. Obviously, with this type of power, what they could be potentially get up to if checks and balances weren't in place, or they like will let off the reins. So like I think that's what people really kind of gravitate towards the show, and it's just like it's a lot of dark humor and a lot of again, like you said, a lot of like murder, a lot of murder and mayhem. But it's just like complete opposite of what like people have been watching for the last like 10 years, and especially watching Marvel. You want to see a superhero like do something a little crazy, and that show is like I really think they have a great opportunity in their hands, because it's nothing like it. I mean, people, I have Amazon Prime Video, and that's one of the shows I really got into watching just because I had Prime. I was like, what else? Like, I jumped into it immediately because it was just so different than what's available everywhere else.
Yeah, somebody told me that there's I don't know if it's like a story across a few comic books or something in regards to the boys. They all go to an island or something.
That's what season 3 is going to be about. Yeah.
Oh, and somebody told me that story in itself, from what they just read in comic book, is just going to be absolutely bananas.
Yep.
So I'm just like, from what I've seen, I was like, it can get more bananas. It can get crazier. This is going to be ridiculous.
Well, same thing. I don't know if you've ever seen Invincible. It's basically the same thing, but that's animated. It's just as dark and kind of like brutal.
And less sex in Invincible. That's
true.
Yeah, right.
True.
Yeah, so anyone watching who's watched Boys and be like, yeah, I don't mind it. If you don't like sex or your sex, like season 3 is gonna be pushing the boundaries. So a new segment on our show today that I've invented just for Batman movies, but but I think I could see this coming up from time to time. It's called "If I Never Have to See It Again." And
let's play this.
So David gave me one, which I don't think is going to. At least I don't think Ryan will agree with. And then I had mine, which I'm probably stealing from. If I never have to see the Mask of Zorro walking down the alley, mom's pearls get ripped off, Bruce Wayne, in a Batman movie. I never have to see, that origin story again. I'm okay. And David's was, if he never has to see the Batmobile again, which I thought was like you didn't need to make because it always seems like when a Batman movie comes out, they do a big hype about what the Batmobile looks like. So this one I didn't mind. Well, first off, and when we had our post movie discussion, I don't think we talked about this. The Batmobile just kind of appeared. Like they were. I don't know about that. He was on a motorcycle. Earlier. He was on a motorcycle the whole time.
And, and when he was in the cave, the car was not put together. And that was something I thought maybe like he was going to continue to work on it, and like the final act we would see it. But like you just said, like nope, it was there roaring. For those of you that are listening and you're kind of debating on where you're going to see the Batman, if we haven't spoiled it for you, the big screen is definitely the way to go. Me personally, and without starting an entire another podcast because I want to play this game Richard's talking about. I was reminded of why we go to the movies with this particular and Spider-Man. To be fair, Spider-Man No Way Home, but just that roar from that Batmobile, I was just like, yeah, let's go. And Richard, because I know you took a pee break, because
I did take a pee break because I'm not a big fan of car chase scenes anyway. But but I got back in time for the amazing shot that Matt Reeves is so proud of. Like, and I'm not making fun of him. Like they shot that of a vehicle jumping through that fire. Like that wasn't CGI. Like they shot that.
Yeah, no. So, and I was actually going to say, you didn't miss anything from your pee break. Like, the scene in itself, the entire way through was cool. But if you went and you just saw the first appearance of the Batmobile and that final shot, you're good, in my opinion. Like, because the rest of it was car chase. We go neck and neck. You get so ahead, you get it right. Still cool, awesome, great chase, but the beginning and the end were where it was really like, yo, this is Batman. This chase is everything. We gotta the reveal of the Batmobile on IMAX. Oh yeah, like I can only imagine how it was in IMAX. Regular, it was just like boom. It made him feel things though. Richard.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Tim doesn't usually feel, so that's awesome. Yeah, actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil this, but Tim has a home theater set up where the speakers are underneath the couch. That's pretty badass. Yeah.
Dude. Tim,
your house. We watched Eternals with Tim at his house, and again, not that Eternals is like, but yeah, that was cool. Right? Don't you agree, Shanna? She's not listening. I think she fell asleep. So.
And by the way, I'm going to answer Richard's question in a second, but we are going to have a WWE podcast with Shanna where she just says, hate him, love him, hate her, love her, and she's just going to give the rundown on her.
We need to, you know what? We need to perfect the technology where you can play a clip and I'll give you a list of clips to play because then she'll just she's stupid. They're stupid. They're dumb. Yeah.
So that's more to come on that. If I never, and I'm going to put people on the spot here because we did talk about this post movie when
she's not even. Sorry, she just said, "I'm not even in the house." She's like, "I'm not even in the house." All right,
ran out. Nobody.
She's still listening. She's still listening though, so that's
cool.
That's the keeper. Yeah, she's still.
That's dedication. That is a keeper. I'm just gonna say, if I never have to see the Joker again, I'm good. Am I playing this correctly?
Wait, he's still
yeah. If I never have to see the Joker again, I'm good. I'm sorry. Let me just make my thoughts clear on the matter real quick. I mean, how can I love Batman and not love the Joker? That's not what I'm saying at all. Any little Joker series thing that pops up, comic book wise, I'm reading it. Richard told me a really good one. Plug, check out Welcome Back Comics, their Facebook page. They're always on the move. So even if you don't live in the New Jersey area, you can catch up with them somewhere. The Batman, right? Jack Napier, Jack Nicholson, the Joker. Cool. The Dark Knight, the Joker, Heath Ledger. Awesome. Rest in peace, Heath Ledger. All the comic books, all the animated films.
Mark Hamill,
great.
Amazing.
Mark Hamill, and as I was just about to say, so Mark Hamill in the video games, in every single Arkham Knight, which is a great video game franchise. The Joker is in every single game. He's either the main plot or the background plot in some way, shape, or form. Then I'm probably going to catch grief for this, maybe even canceled for it one day. I personally believe the only reason that we got Joker with Joaquin Phoenix is because the WB saw some opportunity there. People do love the Joker. People love Joker as the villain. I mean, listen, he won the Oscar for it, so I can't argue that. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. Maybe this is another podcast. Did we need a Joker movie that apparently doesn't intertwine with Bruce Wayne's age or anything that's going on? I don't know. And then, not really a spoiler if you've been reading the articles online, we see the Joker at the end of the Batman. If he was just a guy, like a nod to the villain himself, and we don't see him anywhere else in Matt Reeves' universe, I'm good. I do not need to see the Joker again.
Really, that's a hot take, Ryan.
I know. Listen, I'm prepared to catch grief. I catch grief for it all the time.
No, but like I understand what you mean. I really think the Joaquin Phoenix Joker was good because they're always, the running joke for Joker, it's like no one knows where he came from. He doesn't really have a backstory. So this is like, I guess, one interpretation of his backstory or where he could have came from. But I feel like you kind of have to. I mean, it's no way you're gonna have a Spider-Man movie without having certain characters. I mean, there's certain characters you have to keep in. I mean, for me, I would say I don't want to see the League of Shadows ever again. I feel like every single thing, there've always been like just a small footnote and that's it. Or Ra's al Ghul will come back and make an appearance like he did in Dark Knight Rises, but like they've never really went into it fully. It's like either you're gonna explore them fully or you're not gonna do it at all. I feel like with this Batman, it'd be a great opportunity to explore something different and go more the Court of Owls route, because that's something that's never been explored on animated or the big screen. I would love to see that. I mean, to be honest, we look great to see something different instead of just League of Shadows. Oh, Ra's al Ghul shows up, he wants to blow stuff up, destroy Gotham. Okay, great, and then he's gone for another 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. So if Tim never sees bat nipples again, he's good, which I concur. Right. To answer your question or to kind of add on, I'm sorry, not to answer, to add on to it, the Court of Owls, it's no secret, they are going to be the main villain in the upcoming Gotham Knights video game, which is an extension of the Arkham series. The Court of Owls comic book series has really come a long way. I'm sure you've seen the animated film, which I just thought was awesome for an animated film or a movie in general. And I did see an article where people think that Riddler is going to be Thomas Elliott. Now he's somehow going to be tied into the Court of Owls and that whole backdrop for For those of you that don't know, the Court of Owls, like it's pretty much like they have been kind of behind the strings the entire time in the Gotham, but or in Gotham. But then there was people adding to the discussion. Well, if you bring in the Court of Owls now, then you screw with the whole age timeline and this and that and the other little finer points. But yes, I would love to see Court of Owls. I think it, and then watch. We'll do Court of Owls, everything, and then 10 years from now, when James and Axe take over this podcast, they're going to be like, if I never see the Court of Owls again, I'll be perfectly fine. And they'll go on to like Mr. Bloom or something. But yeah, we don't need to see the League of Shadows again right now.
So if I never see Gotham destroyed again, and this is a reference for for all the locals. Like, I remember buying No Man's Land, the huge store in the late 90s, like at the Echelon Mall, at my local mall comic book store, and like, what amazing, like, oh my god, like Gotham has been destroyed by earthquakes and contagion and viruses, and they're I've now seen it in Dark Knight Rises. I've seen it in the Gotham show, which, a little plug for Gotham. Gotham isn't great, but if you got nothing else to do, it's 5 seasons. That's kind of like, and they definitely drove home the point of, we don't need to see Joker again. Like, because that whole thing, they really mixed with, because it was young Bruce Wayne, but they made all the villains like 20 years older than him. So, so that's the thing. I really could not, stand not to see Gotham get destroyed again. Which brings me to the end of the movie 2, which, I don't know. It wasn't, I don't know. It wasn't, one of my friends said it like, like a lot of these superhero movies suffer from that, like, final big boss battle scene, and this one was interesting because it was, again, we've said spoilers a million times, but it was like Batman failed. Like, he failed this, he didn't figure out the vans beforehand. He didn't have a clue about the vans. And then he, like, it wasn't like he figured out something and mayor got shot. People got shot. Like, he wasn't stopping anyone on time. So it was interesting.
Not to cut you off, but I actually read an article that listed the Riddler, as one of the better, if not the best villains in any Batman film thus far, because he was actually able to lead a competent group of people to do some freaking damage. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't just releasing people from Arkham so they can ruin the funeral or just run around crazy and buy time. Like, these guys and girls were doing damage. Like, they were making Batman and Gordon, everybody work. So, and that's something I didn't think about until I read that. But yeah, they were not to be played with. Great little the way that like they integrated the current times, and I did hear Richard chuckle, and I did myself, and I know Monica said that she was actually reading the comments in the Riddler's little section. But the Riddler says something like, "Hey guys, thanks for the advice on triggers for C4" or something like that. But, in total social media fashion, taking care of his followers. And then Monica was paying attention to the comments, and she said there was actually some good stuff in there, too. I didn't get to see it. I'll have to see it when I see the Batman again. But, that was a fun role. I thought it was just all around. It's with the times, man. He's doing his TikTok. The Riddler's got his TikTok. He's got followers. They're out of their minds. They don't know each other, but they're showing up and they're giving one another nods. Like, yeah, let's just completely go to jail today. Like, they're ready to die for the Riddler's cause.
And it was nice to see one main villain. I know that people would make the argument that the Penguin and Carmine Falcone and but they were just there as supporting characters. Like, it wasn't like the Riddler and Poison Ivy and Bane joined together to destroy Gotham. Like, the Riddler had, and it kind of made sense when he explained it. Like, again, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. Like, it wasn't just, and again, and I think I might be stealing this from someone. I think David might have said it like, yeah, and he played Batman like a fiddle, like Batman just, so. Which Matt Reeves strikes me as the kind of person who, if he gets to do 3 movies, references that. Like in the third movie, we see his Batman's growth, where like, oh yeah, nope. Like he catches on to it, or he won't, he knows he's going into a trap, that kind of thing. So I look forward to more from him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just made a great point. Like that would be like the third act, right? Like the second film, you get maybe like a car chase or a one-on-one with a villain, a much stronger villain, right? But then in the third film, the final act where we're going to wrap everything up, there's like nobody's any match for Batman, right? He's just taking out 10 guys at a time. He's completely grown as an individual. He's maybe much stronger, much smarter. He's not going to let his ass get kicked in any way, shape, or form, which, by the way, no issues there. Zoe Kravitz showing up to save the day. Awesome little take. I've been seeing that all over the internet that was a lot of people think that was one of the best scenes in the movie. And I think, as soon as Richard and I were talking after the Gotham chase, the precinct chase, B minus on the landing, right? But everything about this didn't make Batman look too watered down, too weak,
right, yeah.
But totally room for growth in everything he's doing as well.
Yeah, and sorry, Jordan, if I'm speaking over you. In our unorganized way we do our podcast, which is just us talking, we cannot, as we're running out of time, we cannot speak enough about the acting, all the character actors, Jeffrey Wright,
all of them,
everybody. Yeah, Jordan.
No, I was just gonna say the point that I think we all talked about this movie where he's like, like Batman's young and he's making mistakes and he's trying to work through it. I think the best part was when he jumped off the police building where he had he wasn't gliding. He had like this kind of like put together wingsuit. And
Monica called it a puppy suit.
But that part where he didn't stick to landing at all. He had his makeshift parachute, gets caught on a bridge, and he falls terribly. But that proves that he's still redeveloping in his role and trying to be able to grow. And nothing was perfect in the movie, and I think that was one really good element that I want to see develop, or maybe see less of that as he moves on in his movie. Movie series.
No, not to cut you off, because just one thing I want to add to what you say. I don't think I'm imagining this. When he got to the top of the police department and there was no, he didn't just leap off the freaking roof like he had practiced 100 times. He's like, oh shit, I actually have to commit. Well, here we go. At which I thought that was a great little, nod to he's still growing. He was like, oh, we're used to him jumping off of towers in Hong Kong, gliding across, going all over the city. But he was like, whoa, oh, okay. All right, here we go.
Again, landing on the truck and missing.
But, and I think, not to completely start the podcast all over again, that was where Richard was like, is it too soon to say this is my favorite Batman movie? But yeah, it was great, right? He jumps off, he's learning, crashes. And like I said, I'm just going to say it one more time for those of you that are listening. And as we get to our final points, we didn't need to go to the mountains to train. We didn't need to pick special flowers. We didn't need to go through all the people he's trained with over the years. Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson himself, everybody involved just did a great job of giving the Batman fans a strong, athletic, smart individual who is becoming Batman while also being we're still learning things. So as we get to final points, my final point, that's what that is. Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell. I really hope you get an Oscar nod. I know everybody is absolutely just loving you as the Penguin. For those of you that don't know, the Penguin has such a bigger story than some people even realize. So looking forward to his spin-off series when it comes full circle. Paul Dano, great choice for a villain. And Jeffrey Wright, freaking amazing job as Commissioner Gordon. Loved every second of it. Right now, as it stands, my favorite Batman movie. I love Batman, so I'm not just this is the best Batman movie just to say it because it's what's out right now. Close to the comics, I loved it. As it stands, the favorite Batman movie.
Yeah. My final point is I would love to see them explore the Rogues Gallery more and Especially, I mean, I feel like, and you guys know this, but like every Batman movie, they always done the same characters. I mean, obviously the Joker is like prevalent. I mean, the obviously Bane too. Like, I would love to do like the more obscure villains or throw someone in there that hasn't had time on screen. I mean, I would love to get a Mr. Freeze on screen to give that redemption for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or like Clayface or Phantasm. Like, there's so many people that could be explored and could be really interesting to see on screen and help, push this series in a different direction. I mean, again, the opportunity's there, and especially with HBO Max shows where I feel like they keep changing what they're going to be about every week. I mean, they talk about the second show supposed to be focused on GCPD, is supposed to be focused on like kind of Arkham and maybe following like these villains before they're established. And obviously the Penguin show, we have to see what that turns into, but I would love to see, flesh him out as a character, but also see him as, still dealing with his power grab type situation after obviously Falcone dies. So yeah, it's a lot to look forward to.
Totally.
So, I always lose track of my thoughts. I was going to ask you guys, was the Martha Wayne being an Arkham new to you guys, or have you seen it somewhere?
Yeah.
No, that was new for me.
That was new for me too. Okay.
It's actually, I actually saw it somewhere, and it did trigger something, and I actually want to say that I saw it in the Court of Owls somewhere, but
because she's normally a Kane, like Batwoman. Like she's normally, that's all Katie Kane.
Yeah, like Catherine Kane.
Yeah, is Batman's cousin. Like, so, yeah. Again, I thought that was interesting, and again, like in the Court of the Owls, which really talks about like the families of Gotham and how they build up the family. Which again, Gotham, another ad for Gotham, which I don't even know where you can read. Well, I don't know if you can read that watch it on HBO Max or not, but they do a little Court of the Owl stuff. They do some of this deep dive. They do a lot of the villains, like Zaz, Firebug, some of the more obscure villains that you don't get to see. And, it's interesting. It's just, was limited to being a Fox, on 9:00 on Tuesdays kind of show. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed the movie, and I like Robert Pattinson. I know that Shannon, like maybe a couple of the people at our after discussion, did not love his Bruce Wayne. David said he didn't love his Bruce Wayne. It worked for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, it just did, because like for me, I don't know if I could never. I didn't bring it up during the if I never see, but like Bruce Wayne as the, and Christian Bale did a great job of like, yeah, I'm just out here getting drunk and having a good time and partying and like, how can you do this when the city's suffering? Like this kind of fake thing. So I kind of liked him as being like, no, he's miserable. He's just a miserable kid who no one's seen. It's been 20 years. So yeah. Yeah, I really like it. I highly recommend it if I love it. I recommend seeing it, as we have spoiled it for you. So.
Yeah. So all three
thumbs up.
You don't have to take our word for it, but great film. We're looking forward to the future. And as you can, Jordan, I just want to say, actually, final thought. Not that I ever underestimated your comic book knowledge, but brother, you are like, yeah, it's very strong. I didn't know that you were in there like that. I know that we always had conversations and kept them going for a long time, but damn, bro, you were in there.
Yeah, man, I'm on a comic book podcast. I got to keep up. I don't want to be left behind. All right.
He's under his blanket at 3 a.m. Jen's like, go to sleep. He's like, Cat, getting ready. Looking up Court of Owls. Looking up stuff.
I got to make sure I have talking points. Come on.
No, so it's great. Obviously, as you can tell, listen, you're going to see more of Jordan, and yeah. So the Batman, great film. Check it out. If you're into Marvel, check it out. And I think that's all that we have for everybody tonight.
Yeah.
Free. I just want to say, just because I need to say, free Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, I mean, or suffer the consequences, Cain Velasquez. I don't know. I really don't know. And again, this is. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we should just on a random some random time this weekend or something, just get on for half an hour and talk about Cain Velasquez because it's interesting. And Kanye West. Yeah, we could just we got to get off right now. I'm tired, but talk about Kanye and Cain. So
listen.
Also, I want neither of them to hear our thoughts on it. So,
Cain, I was just taking a shot in the dark. All right, too soon. Listen, that's when we start wrapping up before we can't.
Yep.
So listen, we are here on a Wednesday, like Richard said, because I know Richard's brought this up a few times. And I'm sure there's going to be more to come on Cain Velasquez. Monica has roped me into the Kanye special, so we'll see if we can circle back on. It's Wednesday already, so maybe Monday for you all. But we will see or talk to everybody next time.
Soon.
Thank you who tuned in. We'll see you later. Bye now.